Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be the second vaLITines challenge. I'm not going to write you a love song, created by Bear of Uprooted. So the idea is to pick 5 of your favorite love songs and pair them with books. And I'm kind of terrible at this. I found songs that go really well with parts of books, and there are a lot of songs that inspire me to write my own books, but I can't usually find a song and a book that encapsulate each other really well. So what I decided to do is to pick songs about 4 different types of love and then pair them with books that have that type of love in them. So the types that I was able to find that are in some of my most favorite ever songs are female-male platonic love, female-female platonic love, self-love, and romantic love. And I'm going to subject you to my singing because I like singing and most copyrights are okay with doing covers of songs. The first one is Faithful Friend, which is a duet between Twyla Paris and Stephen Curtis Chapman. And 3 of the songs I'm going to be telling you about are by Christian artists, and 2 of them at least have quite a bit of very Christian content. So be aware of that if you go look them up. But I listened to a lot of that as a kid, so the ones that were really good really stuck with me. I will be an open door that you can count on, anywhere you are, anywhere you've been. And Faithful Friend is all about having someone who will always be there for you and who will always tell you the truth, even if it's not a happy truth. And there's also a line that goes, I will be standing by you till the end. And celebrations of male-female platonic love are not very common in Christian circles or in any circles really, so I'm very attached to them when I find them, and so I'm also very attached to them when I find them in books. And I picked one specific book for this, but I also picked some other ones like I tend to do with tags, because I want you to know about all the books that have this type of thing. And all of these are ones where the male-female relationship is a non-sibling relationship, or biological sibling at least. And the first one is the Mercy Thompson series, has a werewolf pack in it, and so there are a lot of men and women who have very strong platonic relationships that are pack relationships that are not romantic or sexual at all. And my favorite one in that book that feels very dedicated and special to me is the one between Mercy and Ben, who is a character we know very little about at first and kind of only know bad things about at first, but you see him grow a lot through the series, and also you learn more about his backstory, and learn that he's not nearly the type of person you thought he was at first, and he becomes very attached to Mercy in a platonic way, and I just really love the way they talk to each other, but when either of them do things that aren't cool, they both feel free to call each other out. But other ones that I thought of are A River of Royal Blood has a best friend of the main character who is a man, and they are very dedicated to each other, to protecting each other, and to telling each other the truth. And also The Weight of the Stars has, in the little misfit gang, there are a lot of male-female relationships that are platonic and very strong, and that were even founded on the basis of telling each other hard truths and getting each other through difficult circumstances. Then there's I'm With You by Amy Grant, that focuses on love between women, and it was inspired by the story of Ruth and Naomi, which I've told you before I really, really love, because it is all about a daughter-in-law taking care of her mother-in-law no matter what, and going with her and being totally dedicated to her, and both of them caring more about the other than themselves. Till your heart finds a home, I won't let you be alone. I'm with you, I'm with you. And so I can't bring up the Ruth and Naomi story without mentioning Entreat Me, which has a quote from that story at the beginning of the book, and is a lot about the deep love between 2 sisters, one who is much older than the other one, who will stick by each other through anything, will be honest with each other, and each want the other to be happy more than themselves. So books that I found this type of relationship in include A Song Below Water, where we have 2 found family sisters who treat each other that way. In Temeraire, I gender swapped it, and 2 men who treat each other that way, or two he-hims who treat each other that way are Temeraire and his dragon rider, Lawrence. They have a very deep bond. Another one is Uprooted. One of the reasons I love that book so much is this strong relationship between the main character Agnieszka and her childhood friend, who she still worries about when she is up in this tower with this wizard trying to learn magic, and her little friend is just being a little village girl, but she cares so much about her and is willing to go to great lengths to save her when she's in trouble. Wilde Like Me by Louise Pentland is about mostly the relationship between a single mother and her daughter, as well as several other female relationships that she has, like with her aunt and some of her co-workers, and how necessary they are and how much more important they are to her mental health and emotional rocks than any of the men in her life. I have a lot of these, so bear with me. Lord of the Rings is another gender-swapped one where the men in that book have such wonderful platonic relationships with other men. If you want to know about non-toxic masculinity, there's a lot of it in The Lord of the Rings. A lot of emotional men who don't get off on putting other people down or showing how strong they are. It's definitely a big reason I love that series. And then Jane Austen, any of her sister pairings tend to be those very strong relationships where they argue about things and have different opinions, but they ultimately care the most about each other. Then there's Dear Younger Me, whose artist I'll put on screen. But it is about, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, what would you say? Would I go deep and try and change the choices that you made, 'cause they're the choices that made me? And it's about, would you change the things that you've done, but wouldn't that make you a different person? And it's also about, and coming to realize that the most important thing you could tell your younger self, usually, especially if you're someone who struggled with depression or anxiety or feelings of shame and problems with self-esteem, that you would tell them all these positive things about themselves and that it's going to be okay, and that you love your past self even if they were in a bad place or if you had made choices you wish you hadn't. And that idea matches the best for me the space between worlds, because this is a story where the main character goes between alternate realities and meets herself a number of times, and also where her other selves have died a number of times because she was in really dangerous places for a lot of her childhood. There's a lot of emotional reconciling of all those other versions of herself and what they've been through and what she's been through, and the world she is in now that's different from the one she was in as a child. Even though she doesn't like some things about her other selves or even her current self, there is a lot of learning to love herself and value herself in that story. Then we have two romantic songs, or at least I think this first one is one of those, but it could actually be interpreted other ways if you wanted to. And that's One Call Away by Charlie Puth. I'm only one call away, I'll be there to save the day. Superman's got nothing on me, I'm only one call away. And the one that I matched that to is Heart's Blood, and this one is where it matches a very specific part of that story, and those specific lines match a specific part of that story. And I actually made a playlist, I think last vaLITines, for this book, and it included this song, so I decided to reach back and use that again. And this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it sticks close enough to the story where the main character goes away and has a mirror with which she can somewhat communicate with the Beast character, and so the way that works out reminds me a lot of this One Call Away song. Then we have my very most favoritist romantic love song, which is Head Over Feet by Alanis Morissette. You stated your case time and again, I thought about it, you've already won me over in spite of me, and don't be alarmed if I fall head over feet. And that one reminded me of a couple of stories that I really liked, especially that had the lady romantic interest sort of shying away from her feelings, and so one of those is Garden Spells. That has a very sweet romance in it where the main character is trying not to fall in love because she thinks that all love will end in heartache. You know, a fairly common fictional attitude. Probably common in real life. I haven't actually met many people like that, but it's probably a thing, and their love story was very precious. And it was also alongside a lot of female-female platonic love relationships that was really, really nice. So that was the I'm not gonna write you a love song challenge. If there is a musical note emoji or something to do with music and you don't want to comment anything else, comment me one of those. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!